Welcome, Tanvi. Thank you so much for taking out the time and talking to us.
Thank you so much, Tulika, for inviting me here today.
That's great. So, Tanvi, you are a practicing psychologist and a trainer with extensive work in educational field, be it schools, institutions, or NGOs. And you're passionate about empowering people to improve their well-being. And today we wish to touch upon a very important topic, that's social emotional learning. Tell us, what does it mean for a layman like us?
Right, right. So I think socio-emotional learning has been a topic which is very close to my heart, and I keep reading about it and upskilling myself as well. And because that's the need of the hour, especially with the pandemic coming in, there's growing importance around this particular area. So if you ask me for a layman, socio-emotional learning would simply be about developing and also using social and emotional skills in an appropriate manner. Okay,
Right.
so if I go to explain a little bit, with the terminologies, it has a few components, okay, which become the core components of social emotional learning. So to begin with, it covers self-awareness, which is, to gain insight about one's strengths and weaknesses so that they can kind of work on their weaknesses and use their strengths also to effectively, complete or reach their goals. Um, Apart from just gaining an insight, it's also sometimes when the weaknesses are, so eminent, they need to work on it, yes, but it's also moving them towards the growth mindset, which is if you find something like an obstacle, you need to, pause, you need to learn about it, and then you'll be able to overcome that difficulty. So that is what will happen when one is, self-aware.
Right.
Yeah. The second one is about self-management.
Hmm.
Now, what happens is with self-awareness, I learn about myself. But you know what after that?
Hmm.
So, to deal with managing emotions, controlling my reflexes, controlling my impulses, and setting the right goals for me. Okay. And then by controlling reflexes, uh, what happens is I'm able to make mindful decisions, and also because most of the times what happens is when a situation demands a solution, you are in a rush, you tend to panic, and which is why you're not able to take a right decision for yourself. So which is why, being very mindful about it is going to help me. Then comes the social awareness. Now, me being aware of only me is not going to help, which is why if I have to live in a society which is, so much to do with the interaction with other human beings, I have to be socially aware. So here, what I need to do is I need to understand the different perspectives that other people might have, and I need to learn, in a given situation, how would other people perceive this situation? What would be the various angles to look at this particular situation? That's going to make me more empathetic also when I'm in that situation. So. Having that awareness is also very, very important. I should be able to appreciate the diversity when I'm out there into the world. So, yeah, then also relationship skills, a lot of times we see that children are able to, say, initiate relationships, make friendships, but how many can actually maintain them well?
Right.
Okay, so maintaining is also very much a part of social emotional learning. Now, I need to grow the relationship. It's not always one way, it has to be two-way. And since that is the thing, then conversation gets very important. So I need to, have an effective communication. And yeah, that's about being socially aware. And lastly, a very important component of social emotional learning is to be able to make responsible decisions.
Mhm.
Because a lot of time we see that children take decisions, but have they analyzed what are going to be the repercussions? Are they ready to live with those consequences? Because it's one to make the decision, but it's also very important to live with that decision once taken. So I think, consciously helping them to, inculcate all of this into their day to day living is going to help them and take them a very long way. So, yeah.
That's interesting. But why do you say it's best taught in the classroom?
Right, right, absolutely. So, see, what happens is, like we all know, schools are those small little communities, which prepare you for the outside big world.
Absolutely.
So, anything taught here is directly and easily, applicable. So, like for socio-emotional skills, for any child to apply that, they would require, others to be there in
Right.
their surroundings. And which is why at school it gets very much more important, because the earlier they learn this, they are able to live more meaningful lives. And which is why I think at school the applicability level is also very, very high. So yeah,
That's our first gateway to the society.
absolutely.
Right. So, I can really relate to it as a mother of a 7-year-old. And I genuinely feel that the way schools and our teachers are approaching our students, it's changed dramatically. They are much more
Right.
aware, they're much better trained, and I think they're much more conscious to pick up some early signs of any kind of a distress. But it seems that the society at large is losing a battle. What are
Mhm.
your thoughts about it?
Right, right, right. So I absolutely agree with you, when you talk about this whole concept about teachers being able to deal with students in a lot of different ways. Like if I take you down the memory lane, back to when we were kids, no, we did not really have such challenging demands. Okay. We were very, what would I call it? We just kind of used to flow with the situation. We
Absolutely. We were much more
never
free.
questioned
Yeah.
much more. Yeah, we are very obedient as children, so teachers at that time did not have to make much effort to take care of our needs. But if you see at today's children, their demands are many, their requirements are changing rapidly, so much so that while the teacher is upskilling herself, she reaches a level, and then when she's actually coming back, is she being able to apply that? And maybe while she's still coming back, the needs have already gone ahead, they've changed again. So I think that's a battle that every teacher has been facing, but no doubt, they've put in their efforts to be able to kind of cater to all the changing requirements within their classroom. But also, when you say, are we losing the battle? I would definitely not agree to that, because, like you've rightly said, that there's a lot of training that is going behind it. Okay,
Yeah.
so I would say that teachers are able to get themselves trained. They're able to upskill professionally. Okay, but I think, to take a simple example, okay, when a student teacher is going through her B.Ed,
Mm,
yeah, they have this paper wherein they are taught behavior,
mm,
okay, along with, say, special needs, or those kind of aspects. And for everything that they are taught academically, there is a kind of supervised supervision.
oh,
But when it comes to behavior, okay, no one is actually monitoring, whatever the teachers are learning, are they able to apply? Is
yeah.
that making any difference? Are they doing it correctly what they're taught? Right. So there's no monitoring on a behavioral level. And I think the day we start doing that, is when we will be able to see that, teachers are able to apply everything that they are learning within their training.
That's amazing.
And so is it with the students, they know that their teacher is there whenever they require her. So students are ready to go back to their teachers in every kind of situation, then be it, problem situation, be it anything good to share with them. They don't think twice before approaching.
Right.
But are our teachers then equipped to handle those different kinds of, approaches? So I think teachers today need to be even counselors. So, because with the pandemic, okay, simple example, so many different situations, experiences every child has gone through. Teachers really need to prepare when children come back to the classroom, to the face to face interaction, because there's so much that has changed in between.
Absolutely.
That is definitely to require, I would say, more than training, because that every teacher has been doing it ritually to be able to support the children. But I think they do require supervision and a feedback that would take them a very long way. Yeah.
That's very true. And you rightly said, unfortunately, this pandemic, COVID has taken a lot away from us. And while we elders have gone through our own stress and anxiety, so are our kids. And of course, so are our teachers. They found themselves suddenly in this new world of online learning. For both the teachers as well as for the students. Do you notice a pattern there? Do you see something out of place?
Absolutely. Now, I have two niece at home, and one in the third grade and one in the first grade. I also have a nephew in the first grade. And I would say, this whole shift of face to face schooling to the online schooling, though for all of us, it might sound like an online school is hustle free. Okay. But when it comes to students, it has great repercussions, and I'm seeing that in them. Okay. So, like one of them, I'm just relating it to a personal experience. One of them already, is facing issues with her eyesight. So,
Mm.
with so much of exposure of the laptop and the online classes, and you cannot miss online classes, all of those pressures. So, physical effects are one. But apart from that, like you rightly said, yes, they are more anxious. They are more stressed as well because, see, a child would be anxious whenever faced with an unprecedented situation. And the pandemic has been so for every person around the globe.
True.
So I think if we elders have, had so many, anxious feelings, then their children, and, they would have their own set of difficulties. But, movement has stopped. There's no physical movement. So there's no channelizing of the energy that they have. Okay, and with so much energy, kids locked inside the home in their own rooms, finding out different ways to occupy themselves. Um, Somewhere that boredom has come in, somewhere that, stress about going back to the social world has kind of sunk in because, again, scared. I'm not supposed to shake hands. I'm not supposed
Yeah.
to go closer to my peers. So what do I do even when I go back to the normal world?
True.
That's also the kind of feelings they have. And students being students, because they are at home and there's no social interaction like before, their aggression has also increased, along with the anxious feelings. Aggression has increased, then that, negative environment within the house, parents screaming after the children. So all of those things together have definitely, brought in evident changes in students and children as well. So yeah, I definitely see those, and I see them at my home as well.
That's really sad. But if you have to give an advice to a parent, how can they contribute because they are the ones who
Right.
are with the kids right now. Unfortunately, the teachers are online.
Right.
So, what are some of the tips that you would give them, considering they themselves are going through stress and anxiety and a whole lot of other issues in the society?
Right, right, right. So again, I would say a lot of parents also getting used to this work from home. Okay, a lot want to run away back to their offices, uh, but that is how we are. Like for every kind of work and every kind of activity, there's a set, kind of environment, I would say. And working from home, even it kind of, used to fascinate me a lot when I wasn't. But once I started working from home, I realized, what kind of quality that would bring in. But for parents today, and especially I would emphasize on parents where both the parents are working parents. Okay. And with the pandemic, I think there's been an increase in the work hours that parents have to sit through. They have their meetings, they have their longish calls, they have all the stressors that they managed to keep outside their house for so many years that have now entered the house, and within their family environment. And it's nothing that they want to really do. This is all happening unconsciously. And, almost 1.5 years, there's no personal life. There are calls happening later in the night, earlier in the morning. And it does tend to disturb the schedule of the children where, in the household that have little children, say
Right.
pre-primary or primary. And a lot of times disturbance. Okay, when the kids have say a holiday, the parent is working, so they're again supposed to be keeping quiet. So a lot of adjustments that all have been making. But during these stressful times as well, I think if parents take care of certain things like, avoiding their stressful calls in front of children,
Hmm.
or maybe even when they're talking to each other, if they avoid, any kind of difficult situations or any kind of difficult scenarios at workplace, they need to avoid that in front of children. I think that will really help them. And apart from just avoiding, okay, because that is also not going to help our children, we need to kind of, expose them to the success stories, you know uh, tell them about how you overcame certain difficulties. Okay. Tell them about, what they need to do in difficult situations, what you did in a difficult situation that you experienced. So like I said, children are very, very observant, and you don't need to really teach them, but if you narrate your own experience to them, they know what to actually pick up on. Okay. Apart from just the success stories, if resilience can be kind of, you know displayed to them, telling them that yes, you're seeing me stressed today, but I am able to manage my stressors at work. It might take me maybe a week or so, but rest assured that mama is going to do it or papa is going to do it. Now, having those kind of conversations rather than just saying, you don't get into it, you will not understand the word. That
Right.
is not going to solve their curiosity or their anxiety. So I think talking it out is going to help. Spending that quality time which everyone wants to. A lot of parents, when I say quality time, they ask me, okay, what are the kind of activities that come
Hmm.
under quality time? But there are no defined activities, right? I think anything done together in a playful manner, in a positive environment, can turn into kind of a quality time activity. So I think these few things, again, being very, very careful of your verbal language as well as your non-verbal cues, because children are very smart at picking the non-verbal cues. Now, like, if I may just narrate a small little example to you, wherein I just got out of my work and I was at the dining table for the chai time. Okay. And this little niece who had visited me on the weekend said, you look very stressed. Okay.
Wow.
What have you been? thinking, isn't your work over? Are you going to go back after chai time for work? So they are thinking so much, right? And wherein I was not really stressed. I was just thinking, okay, what do I make for dinner since they are here? So, that is the kind of difference, like she couldn't think of anything else, but all she saw was, okay, I am out of the room and I'm thinking something, so it might be the stress.
Absolutely.
So I think that kind of speaks a lot about, what children have been thinking through these difficult times. Apart from that, I think every parent is trying their best to give, the best to their children. So keep doing all of that. But, these little few things are going to help you a lot.
I think that is an excellent advice that you've given. I think that positive dialogue, and making sure that we treat our kids like treat kids, but also give them their due credit of being absolutely smart individuals who can pick both, like you said, verbal and non-verbal cues. I think as parents, we tend to overguard them when not needed.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So, then, last of all, I'm going to ask you a very difficult question, rather. In our
Okay,
society, mental health still carries a stigma.
right.
Uh, what advice will you give to parents who, how do they pick some early signs? And, again, connecting it to COVID, and like you rightly said, it has increased dramatically. Kids,
Right.
parents, we're all going through some difficult time. We've lost a lot. Each individual has
Mm-hmm.
lost something, uh, be it a relationship, be it a person, be it financially, everything. I think everyone has kind of lost something in this period. How and what can the parents do to just pick on it much earlier and not hide behind the social stigma?
Right, right, right. In the beginning, you addressed it to be a very difficult question, but I feel this is a very, very crucial question. And I think without this question, our entire conversation today would have not had value. Okay, so thank you for asking that, first of all. And to begin with, I would say, a lot of parents are aware about the milestones that the children have. Okay, but when we say milestones, it's mostly, my child walked the time he was supposed to walk. My child kind of spoke the time he or she should have spoken. So milestones are perfect. Okay, but there is lot to it. It's not just the speech and the motor, but it's also to do with cognitive milestones. When does the reasoning actually come in? At what stage is the child able to decode or say a sarcastic language? Okay, or any kind of cognitive development. So all kinds of cognitive aspects that we have, each have its age appropriate, if you can call it, cues.
Right.
Okay, so I think if parents are aware of these milestones, that is when they will be able to pick up. Okay,
Mhm.
at 5 years, my child is supposed to do this particular thing. He is now 6 years old. He's still not able to do it.
Right.
That's when they would find it alarming. But, to begin with, they need to be aware of the various domains. So I would say, try and understand what are the different kinds of milestones. You will get a complete chart onto Google once you Google it out. If you ask for socio-emotional learning, aspects, or if you ask for any kind of milestones, you will get a very comprehensive list about every domain. It can be cognitive, there is speech and language, there is motor, which would cover your fine motor, gross motor, all of that. There are definitely learning, categorizations. By when is the child supposed to read, say, two-letter words, three-letter words, decode the meaning of the words. Then, when will they move or shift to sentences, have like a longish conversation. So everything has been broken down into smaller parts, and everything has its own age appropriate tag attached to it. So I think if parents are able to go through this, then they will be able to identify the behaviors much more earlier, and they will also be able to thus have early intervention for the children. So I would say that would help. Yeah.
That's a very, very important pointer that you gave. Again, Tanvi, I think we as parents also need to train ourselves, just like our
Right.
teachers.
Right. And I think, one more aspect which you spoke about, the stigma. Okay, I think I missed on that earlier. So when it comes to stigma as well, yes, I understand it's still very prominent within our country, or rather, I would call it the society as a whole. But what I usually tell the parents that visit me or ask me these kind of questions also, that you go there, you visit. Before you visit a psychologist, you might have all kinds of ideas, weird ideas, all kinds of stigma in your head. But once you visit, you will see that fades in. Okay. And once you visit them with a typical concern, there are only two things that can happen. One, maybe you visited them in time. Okay, so early intervention can start and thus help the child. Or second, like most parents would, avoid labeling their kids. And obviously, I mean, they should avoid labeling, but avoid identifying also that my kid has a problem. At least you will be able to rule out.
Right.
Okay, but it definitely needs to be done by a professional. So I would say, make that first move, visit a psychologist, visit whosoever the school is asking you to. Or maybe you as a parent also might have found out a lot of things. These days Google is right there, at the touch of our fingers. So I would say avoid that and go meet a psychologist, meet a professional, and that should take care of the further complexities.
That's a fair point. If nothing else, it gives you that peace of mind that everything is fine.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That is amazing. Thank you so much, Tanvi. Thank you for your time. And I'm going to request all our readers to head to Soror for Tanvi's amazing blog on social emotional learning. It covers the aspect very nicely. And like she said, we parents too need to train ourselves.
Thank you so much, Tulika, for calling me here today. I think I had a lovely time having the conversation with you. And I would hope that a lot of parents would find this conversation meaningful and helpful. So look forward. Yeah. Thank you.
Likewise. Thank you so much, Tanvi.